So yeah, I mean, it is natural that in chess you uh, learn attack first because it is all exciting. It looks very good, right? So that is how a lot of us spend a lot of time in learning how to attack, and that is natural and that is thing. But somewhere we don't pay as much attention to defense. Very few people they have got a bent, they have got a natural attitude of defensive skills, but those are rare. Most of the people that on average, majority of the people that you will find like to attack, and they are better at attacking but not so good at defending, right? So it requires a proper patient hard work and systematic work. So today we'll just look at an introduction to the defensive, and there is a lot more to learn properly and systematically. But we'll just take a brief look first and understand what, when we say, obviously we understand so when we say defense, right, there are multiple types of defenses, right? The most common that we all understand is a passive defense, meaning that it is immediately catering to the whatever is the problem that has been put forth, just direct problem, it is addressing it. Okay, and then even for that there are multiple ways, right? We can for example, if something is attacked, some piece, then we can retreat the piece, or we can defend it with another piece or a pawn, or we can exchange the attacking piece, right? Or we can block the attack, right? Interception, right? So just like we had ABCD, the things like A is avoid, you can move away from the attack. B is block, C is capture, and D is defend, right? These are the four main things of what you call obvious defense, or explicit defense. But there are also four forward-looking defensive maneuvers, and those are called as active defense. So not only they defend against the immediate threat, but they also create some small opportunities or counter threats which the opponent has to take care. Okay, so he cannot just ignore it. So which results in the attacker also slowing down, because not only are you defending, but also you are creating some counter chances which then the opponent has to take care, right? So let us take a simple example of that. Very simple example it is. We are starting, right? So let us go here and tools. Let us take a yeah, let us take a thing. So, and we'll start with, for example, the most beginners type of attack, right? E4, E5. But sometimes we all fall prey to it, I think, if you are not careful, especially in small quick time games like 5 minutes or 7 minutes, etc. We don't have enough time to think, or we are not. So beginners move attacking queen, queen h5, attacking the. Give me 1 second. Hello. Yeah. Yes. Actually, I am in a class right now, so I'll call you back. Actually, right now I'm in a class. I will call you. Huh? No problem. You can. Yeah. Thanks, man. So, yeah. So this is the attack, right? So the right way to defend is knight c6, right? You have to understand that not only f7 is under attack, but e5 is also under attack, and this is the way. And then uh, white white continues with the attack, and you cannot fall prey to knight f6, right? Knight f6 will lead to checkmate, right? It does happen. I mean, don't be surprised if you get beaten in a scholar's mate. It happens in sometimes, but you're not, I mean, you are so much used to developing the knights to their natural squares, their good moves, etc. But you kind of forget that the bishop and the queen's attack is not blocked by the knight move. So the knight move does attack the queen, but it doesn't prevent this f7. So the right move to play is g6, right? In this case. So, and now what is happening is white continues to attack, but black is defending it, but at the same time not defending it in some crooked moves or something, but defending with good logical moves which are also aiding his development. And that what happens is very slowly, subtly, it still looks like, oh, white is continuing. Queen goes to f3, again threatens checkmate on f7, right? So looks as if like, oh, it is continuously white is attacking and black is defending, but that is not the was there any messages? Sorry, what is that? Okay, yeah, g6 is the correct. Yeah, so that is not the. So black is continuing to develop, and while white continues to attack, but he's moving around with his queen too much, and he's not developing. So very soon a stage is reached. See, right now it still looks as if white is attacking. White queen goes to b3. Okay, again attacking on f7. This time not a mating attack, but a pawn winning attack, right? That is what it is facing. So looks as if like continuously white is threatening, and how long will black? But black has reached a reasonable level of development. This bishop is also ready to come to g6 in one move, allowing castle. Right now there is a thing on f7, but at this point of time, see how the thing, black takes a counter chance. Okay, black moves in here and attacks the queen. Now you might think that it is actually I can take this pawn, but after king comes to e2, now you are stuck. Queen is also attacked. Queen is defending the bishop. Now queen can go here, but then this pawn will come up here, attack. Now queen cannot come here, queen cannot come here. So queen moves anywhere else, then the king is going to kill the, right? Plus there is another latent threat is there. So it's not easy for the things, now sometimes allowing a pawn to be taken, but at the same time this defensive move, right? Not immediately you're not bothered, and this move sometimes it is not very natural. I mean, we don't think so because we are panicked that the pawn is going to fall. We never allow it to fall, and then we play queen e7, etc. But sometimes it is okay for the pawn to be fallen, because after that in the follow-up there is no good move for the opponent to defend everything. Okay, this has happened in my games also, because I also sometimes miss out on this thing that you don't need to be worrying about immediately capturing. You can just move the king and still you are attacking, and still there is a chance. So now due to this, what happens is white does not take this pawn here. Okay, white simply moves this. Right, yeah, white moves this, and now black seizes his chance. Blacks opens up with d5. Okay, so opens up with d5. See, blacks, this bishop is also now coming of age. White's bishop is still not there. So while white was attacking, black has made his move. So now white takes this pawn, but this is a very interesting. Black develops this bishop with the attack on c7, right? With the attack on c7, and so what to do? So again, there are ways of defending it. You can go with the knight here, but then this bishop can take it, and then you are still falling, right? But this is also a trap, and if white falls into this trap by playing d3, right, then black wins instantly. Can you see the win for black? And all of this is possible because of his superior
Bishop b4.
Bishop b4, and then queen takes b4. Then
Knight
Knight
takes
c2.
yeah, knight c2 picks up the queen, right? For in exchange for the bishop, right? You might go here or whatever, and then simply picks up the queen, right? So this was just a very early example, but I think this thing everyone should be aware of, because sometimes we get overwhelmed by the attack. But if you just maintain a cool head and think what is the truth, you will be able to, not only will you be able to defend, but you will be able to come up with a what do you call, come up with, you might be able to come up ahead also. It happens. Okay. So this was a quick early example. Okay. So let us go ahead. Then there are other, I mean, the standard defensive thing beyond this, right? Beyond this is the thing is that you should be able to count how many can attack, how many can defend, right? So let us, so let us look at that position, and you should be able to evaluate it some extra factors that may come in. Okay, so first let us start with the basics. Let us start with the where you just have to count the defenders and this one. So where was my study? Yeah. Yeah, this position is what I have given here, right? It is black to play in this position, and black is planning to attack the e5 pawn of, okay, so, and you have to see whether white can defend it. Okay, so look at this. Okay, so let us just think it for a while, and then you can type your answers whether white will be able to defend the e5 pawn, or black will win the e5 pawn. So there are 3 or 4 moves you can look ahead in your mind. Black will continue to say it is a very simple position that way. Everything is revolving around the e5 pawn. So black is going to attack, white is going to defend. And you tell whether white can successfully defend. Ready? Or hello? Yeah, okay. White can defend. Okay, this is saying, Nandan is also saying white can defend. Everybody is saying white can defend. Okay, and how many defenders have you thought about for the pawn? 3. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Correct, right? 1, 2, 3. There is a possible 4th attacker. Did you from the black side? There are 3 attackers, right? Knight, bishop, and rook, and from white side also there are 3. But there is a chance that black can attack with a 4th attacker. Did you think about it? Yeah, that is correct. But was it successful, or I mean, is it really the threat is real, or it is white can push through? White can still defend. Yeah.
After some moves, that pawn can be captured.
Yeah. So what will happen? Let us look at it. Okay, let us look at it. So right now the pawn is being attacked first. Say bishop to c7. Now pawn cannot move because it will get captured. So white, let us say, defends it. Right. So again black attacks it, and you defend it again. Again it cannot move. But sometimes when this position change happens, right? So you make some move, he makes some. that allows further tricks. So that is what you need to be able to calculate properly, because then some check might come in somewhere or something gets distracted, etc. So that is where the trick is. But starting is simple. Yeah, starting this much we should be able to do it. Then now black attacks it and white defends it, right? So far 3 attackers, 3 defenders. So you cannot win the pawn, right? You require 1 extra attacker to be able to win it. And but we need to think about this possibility. Now in this case this doesn't work, because even if white takes the pawn, then also there is no tactic. But if sometimes there is a tactic, right, because of the open file, etc. So here it doesn't work. But we have to think that yeah, there was a possible 4th attacker that was coming in against the pawn, but it was another pawn and I had both options. I could have pushed also, because now there is no f7 pawn, so I can push also, right? This would in fact be better, right? Or I could have taken this pawn, and then also this is not as good, but still it allows what do you call it is still an exchange of pawns here, right? It is still an exchange of pawns and not really winning, right? So that way, but it is important to think about this. Okay, so this is how, I mean, so defensive thought will involve a lot of these things, right? And in your mind to be able to accurately calculate these things. And so we'll take a next example, right? Next is a series of positions, and what we are illustrating is this fact. See, they are almost similar looking positions, 3 positions, exact same, except some very small difference. But that small difference does make a difference. So let us look at it and see. Again, slightly more complicated positions, but I have managed to put it in the study. So let us look at the first position, 2 or 2A. Okay. And what is the target is this. Black, we have to evaluate whether if black plays the pawn forward by 1 move. Okay. Can she safely move forward the pawn, or she will lose the pawn, right? That is the question to be answered. So question to be answered is, if black plays e5, your evaluation. E pawn, yeah, black is trying to move this. Okay. E6 to e5. Again, think through it. One, two, three, four, five, six. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's not that slightly different. There are 6 attackers and 6 defenders. You are right. So that way you cannot, right? You can't. No, what is that, Abhinav? What are you saying? I didn't understand. So will black lose a pawn, or black can safely play e5? He shall lose the pawn. How we will lose the pawn? Madhura, you are saying yes means what? You are agreeing with Abhinav? Black will lose. Okay. So let us see what will happen and why it will happen. So some of you are saying he can play, some of you are saying. So let us say if he plays this. Okay. Let us start with the simple thing. White will take it. Black takes it. White takes it. Black takes it. White takes it. Black takes it. White takes it. Black takes it. Exchange of the rooks. So it is equal, right? It is not that black is not losing anything. See, everything has got equally exchanged, right? Black's queen was also defending, of course. So do you see any problem? I think Madhura or Abhinav, did you? Yeah, okay. Abhinav, I think you missed the queen, because the queen was also a silent defender. Maybe it was okay. It was not blocked, but yeah, but you have to notice everything, right? Madhura, were you saying something? Did you see anything wrong with what we did? So this was a clear case of an black is not losing anything, right? It is an equal exchange, probably simplification, right? So right. So now let us look at the next position, 2.b. There is a very subtle difference, very small difference. First of all, you will have to spot what is the difference. I think
So the queen has moved.
Queen has moved from d2 to c2, and now can you evaluate the same question? Can black safely play e5?
Huh?
Sir, black will lose the exchange. Black will lose the exchange.
Okay, someone is saying black may lose the exchange. What about others?
Sir, the knight on c6 is pinned, so it can't be counted as a defender.
Oh, yeah, I mean, in a sense, yes, that is correct. That knight cannot move right now. But if the other knight moves, then there is no longer pin, right? Because if the d knight does the capture first, then the rook will defend the queen, right? Then the other knight can also move. So initially, first time this knight cannot move. But if the other knight moves, then this knight can also move later on, right? Yeah, you got what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But let us calculate. Okay, so this is where it happens. So slightly think, if pawn comes forward, let us say white starts with this, and black knows that his knight, this knight, c knight was pinned, so black starts with taking this first. Okay, now let us say white takes it, then black takes it, white takes it, black takes it, right? Now there is a problem now. See, if now white can kill this queen and divert one of the defenders, and after that he can win the knight, right? No matter what you do actually in this position here. So that is the key thing. Yeah, even though the knight gets unpinned and it can move, but still there is another tactic involved here where a diversion happens. So now, and diversion happens in such a way that yeah, white queen goes off court. Both one white queen was never defending this pawn, but after exchanging the queen, one of the defenders is gone, plus the other defender is also attracted away, right? So this is a small difference in position, but can make a very big difference in the evaluation, right? That is what actually this one was designed to show, that that's why I mean accurate calculation is required. Small differences in position can make a huge difference in the actual evaluation, and sometimes you will find this in if you are doing a leeches analysis of your game, and it is saying, oh, you made some blunder, you should have moved like this in one move, and then next move, then it will say, no, now you cannot move this, and it is not very apparent to you why earlier I could move it, now I cannot. It's a small difference, but that small difference makes small change in the position makes a huge difference, right? So today only I was analyzing one of my games, and I noticed that, and I took some time for me, a minute for me to understand why the same move, one move earlier was a good move and one move later is not a good move, right? So like this it happens. So I hope you got this one. Let us go back to the position, and now the key thing is that in this position black cannot play e5 because he cannot sustain it. He's going to lose if he plays it after a lot of exchange. He's going to actually end up losing a piece, right? In the thing, or he will have to give up the pawn. So that is the thing. If it tries to exchange back the pawn, then any questions in this position, or we can go. Right, now we'll just see another example, which is 2c. Now again a small variant again of the position. You see between this and this, now you can see visually you can see it. The black pawn is not on h6 but on h7 itself in 2c. Okay, wait, let me see. I think I might have got this wrong. Yeah, I have got it wrong. The queen should still be on d2, not on so let me add a new chapter. And white queen is not on here but here. Black to play. Yeah, this is the correct. Yeah, don't look at 2c. This is wrong. Let me delete it. Delete chapter. Okay, and this is yeah. So this thing is the difference is that versus 2.a and 2.c. The difference is that the pawn is not on h6 but on h7, and this again makes a very big difference. And you will know that, right? What does pawn moving forward mean in the end game, right? You know it, all of you. So again, if you evaluate, you will find that in this position, in first position to here, black could move the e5 pawn safely and get everything exchanged off. But in same thing in 2.c, it is not possible. And why it is not possible? Let's go through the same thing. Whichever way, this one.
After the exchange, white can checkmate black.
Yeah, there is a back rank at the end. So in this position, after exchanging everything, so let us say if you do this and queen does take it, but white has got a move which is going down, and the h6 pawn being not there, king doesn't have an escape square, and then the black cannot defend it, right? Black queen is not able to properly block it, and then there is no escape. So this at the end of, after some 6-7 moves of exchanges, at the end of it, you are having a checkmate coming up, right? So so going back, so that's why I think all small things make a lot of difference. So in this position between what is where and what is where, and sometimes it makes a difference after 8 moves or 10 moves, right? But as you progress, we have to develop this ability to calculate accurately, right? So any questions? Any questions? So I wanted to show one more game as an example game, okay, which is what do you call? But I have put it in the study here with some comments. I collected it from one book. It shows. I don't think we have time right now to go over it, but I will send this link. I hope whatever study links that I am sending, you are following it up with your own study. I mean, you are watching it, you are going through it. But this is a very good instructive example again to see that almost any problem or any attack that is there is always some defensive move if you think properly. Okay, so this entire game is about white is continues to attack, black continues to defend. It's a gambit thing. E4, E5, F4, EF. This is called as King's Bishop's Gambit. I mean the Bishop's Gambit variant of the King's Gambit. Okay, and so I will not go into it too much, but there is a continuously white is attacking and black is able to do active defense. Black is not only just passively defending the immediate threat, but black is looking 1 or 2 moves ahead. So sometimes the threats of white are not so apparent. They are like veiled threats, but even that black is able to find it and neutralize it in beautiful ways. So it is worth going through this game. Please go through. I will send this link. By the way, I had started one more study on Danish gambit. It's exciting gambit, and I was collecting some mini games. So this is what I was doing yesterday or day before yesterday in my spare time. Sometime I will show you. But in that study I have added right now, I've added these things. So I will send you this link for the game.
Sir,
Yeah.
instead of knight e7 on move 3, could black
Yeah. Here,
instead of knight e7, could black play queen h4 check?
yeah, black can play queen h4 check, and then white normally goes to king f1 here, right? White cannot put the g3, but this is so that is why actually, and this is a theoretical line in it. Okay, so that is why actually that bishop moves up and allows the king to come here. Okay, in general, I mean, there is a king's gambit is a wild lot of attacking things. In general, what I advise is that if at all you play king's gambit, you don't venture into it right now, because you have to know how to play by king coming to f1. It is not casting, etc. But if at all you play king's gambit, I suggest you play knight f3 immediately, right? What, e4, e5, f4, right? On f4, queen h4 immediately cannot come, but after ef, that threat is always there. So I suggest that at least if you are playing king's gambit, first you play with the knight coming to f3, because that prevents this, right? And then you think, but this is a theoretical line. What I think. So here, queen h4 and king f1, and there is nothing wrong. Seems to be that white is okay. Okay, so later on the knight will come up, push back the queen, and white is not so much bothered about castling here. He's going to open up, and then probably this rook is also going to open up here, this side. So there are many games. I mean, king's gambit is a full of thing. So but yeah, I mean, your thinking was immediate thinking was correct, that queen h4 comes, but king f1 is the answer in this position. Okay, all right. So let me very quickly go through the handout. Yeah, there was one more. This position I wanted to show. So let us go. Did I have it in my this one? No, I don't think so. No. Let us watch it here itself. Okay. So this is again, look at this position, and it is see, black's pawn has reached the second rank, right? It is about to get queen, and black is also 2 pawns up, so it looks completely dead thing, but there is a tactical resource here for white, and white is able to defend this position, almost defenseless position, but white is able to defend. Okay, and how it starts with rook comes to f1, white to play first, rook comes to f1. Okay, allowing black to get a queen. So black pushes the pawn, gets a queen. Rook f1, d1 equal to queen. Okay, white sacrifices the queen. Again, it's not generally, it is not possible, but here it is possible because of the way that the black king is hemmed in, right? So now if black queen takes the white queen on e6, then there is a fourth checkmate. Rook to f8 and king to h7, and then rook to h8. And the knight is already protected by the pawn, so it is all blocked up. So the king gets checkmated on h7. So that is why, so rook to f1, d1 equal to queen, queen to e6, queen to e6, black does not capture the queen. Black king goes to h7. Black king goes to h7, and then so what happens after that? So what happens after that is knight to f8 check. Knight to f8 check. King has got only if queen takes the knight, right? Queen has to take it actually. If king goes back here, then the knight comes back to g6, and again there is a check. So there is a perpetual. So queen takes the knight, but then white queen from e6 goes to g6. Yeah, you're right. White queen goes to g6. Then king cannot go to h8 because the queen will fall. The rook will take the queen, and again it's a checkmate. King has to go to g8, and queen again comes to e6. check. Again, king cannot go to h8 because rook will come, take the queen and give a check. So king has to go to h7, queen will come to g6 check. So there is a perpetual check that happens. I would love to show this maybe as a study, but it's not too difficult to visualize, I hope. Okay. So there are sometimes the defensive resources that you need to look for always. So rook to f8, so rook to f1, d1 queen, then threat was the rook to f8. I mean, not immediate threat, but queen comes to e6 and then this whole thing. White gets a perpetual check with this and is able to. There is no other way. White cannot. I mean, only if black makes a mistake, then white can win. But otherwise, white cannot win it. But perpetual check, white can get it. Okay. So it is there in the handout. You can go through it. Okay. And then the same game that I mentioned it about, it is also given in here fully. So you can play through it on a normal board. And then this is another beautiful position I wanted to show it. Okay, this like seemingly impossible position to, there is a checkmate. See, if you look at it, white is looks like white is going to give a checkmate on g7, and there seems to be absolutely no way. There is some side thing, but then as you go in and more things, there are more and more resources for black, and finally black is able to actually get a draw in this position also. So maybe I will show it to you. Can go through it and then maybe we can discuss. Okay, so again I have explained it very properly here with all the variations. All right, so I think that is the thing. And then there is some more example of how in an opening like Sicilian Chevelingen, right? There are how black can choose among a different set of activities for defensive. It can counter strike in the center, or exchanging of the pieces, or preventive measures, or ignore and develop. All strategies can be there, and each one of them, sometimes you have choice of different strategies and both of them work, or 2-3 of them will work. Sometimes only one of them works, but it is good to get an idea of these things. Okay. All right, so that is pretty much it. I will not have a second session today, so I will stop the recording and we will close it here. Go through the